Still type of day, I'm telling you.
Welcome back to Ratchetthoughts and Isms. We are super excited, as always, to have you guys here today. We got the illustrious cast in the building, ready to give you this amazing episode. But I know you're wondering, who is that person in the middle over there, right? Who is she? Well, let's ask her. Please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I am Kalisha. I am an assistant principal at a school in the Bronx. I've been in education for about 8 years and I'm excited to give my thoughts on today's topic.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you taking the time out in your day. We know it's hard being an educator, especially now in this pandemic. Speaking of that, the topic is called pandemic education.
Right.
And we brought this awesome teacher, AP, to give us her feedback and her opinion on some of the things that are going on in the school system, as well as our own opinions with our kids and how they are coping with school during the last 2 years, right? Yeah. But before we get into it, we got to introduce ourselves. I am Luke, the Harlem Skywalker.
I am First Lady Ramona.
I am Ratchet Poppy.
That's it? You only gonna get that today?
Yeah.
That's it. There's one person today.
Mr. Receipts, El Capitan. Professor Brown. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
That's what
All that good stuff.
Yeah, all that.
Hollywood Drake, Brooklyn Nine.
Yes. So we're in the building here. And,
Mr. Disclaimer, y'all gave me that new one?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Disclaimer. Yeah. Speaking of that, might as well.
Right?
Yes, thank you.
Right into it.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I had to help y'all.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, all right. So the thoughts and opinions of Uptown Brown, Ratchet Poppy, Mr. Receipts, El Capitan, Mr. Disclaimer are solely the thoughts and opinions of me and do not reflect upon the rest of the cast of Ratchetthoughts and Isms or Miss Kalisha.
Very good.
Thank you. Yes, we appreciate it. Because we have no idea what he's going to say, Kalisha, so we just have to put that out there to make sure that we cover ourselves.
Y'all should stop this shit. We in season 2, like, y'all don't have to keep doing this to me.
No,
Like,
we do.
Nah,
I
bro.
feel like y'all isolating me.
No.
It makes me feel like y'all are thought shaming me. Like I should be ashamed of my thoughts
No, you shouldn't.
and opinions. I feel like y'all shaming me. Like,
Nah, that's not a shame. We just need to make sure that the people know that what
Just in case.
you think.
I'm a right to have the right to have my own opinion. Like,
Enjoy, yes.
Legally,
that's
we
right.
have to say it just in case. That one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that case. So
this is not right.
So let's get into it. Wait, before we get into it, Miss Kalisha, I think you have some other businesses that you also participated, right?
Yes.
You want to tell us about that?
Of course. So I am also an event planner for c.smithevents. So I do baby showers, birthdays, graduation, whatever you need, I can make it happen.
Yeah.
And then I also have, I'm a promoter on the side. So I do a Thursday night in Mount Vernon at Mangoville. So if you're in Mount Vernon, pop by.
So what's your IG for your event planning?
For my event planning is c.smithevents. And then you can find all of my events. I also have a pop-up shop coming up on February 12th.
Where?
In Mount Vernon.
Okay.
And it is a platform to help Black businesses to network with one another. So if you are a vendor or a Black-owned business, please contact me so you can get on board.
Very good.
Yes.
Nice.
We will definitely put your
Busy.
IG up so that they can contact you.
Send some people your way.
Yes.
Get that money.
We got to support Black businesses, y'all.
At your event, do y'all take EBT or anything like that?
We take everything.
Yes, let's go. All right. So
You gotta ask. Listen, sometimes taking EBT is important. Listen, you go to ShopRite, you know what I'm saying? You get that,
BJ's.
get themselves,
I agree.
get that can. What's the supermarket got the can drink? ShopRite, right? The can, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
okay, so back to the topic.
Thank you.
So several of us here have kids, and we have opinions and see how our children are reacting and coping with school and how difficult it might be, or how they are assimilating to the different changes of remote learning, back in school, masks. It's a bunch of things that we want to touch about. Is there anything that particularly stands out for you as an educator that you see in schools with kids that is affecting how you or how they're being taught or learning?
As far as remote learning?
Or even when they come back into school? Is it difficult? Is it?
I think with the whole aspect of remote learning, there are some things that the students miss while being at home. So it is great that they are learning remote. They're learning technology because we are dealing with technology babies. And that's a great asset to have. But then they also are missing skills like their social skills. I see it now that the kids are fully back in school. They have a hard time interacting with each other from the last basically 2 years. Some kids have been home 2 years, so they don't know how to interact with their peers. And even some of the learning that they are supposed to get at home, they're not getting it to the full fidelity as if they were in the school building. So those two things, I think, are the two main things that I've seen from students who, from the pandemic, from being remote, and then transitioning back into the school building.
I have a question. What grade is that? What age is that?
So I work with K through kindergarten through 5th grade.
So that's like. So you think that
So
that
they're
age?
like they're 5 to 11.
So you think that age has more of a social impact than like the high school students? Than because my daughter, she's 17 and she loves to be home. She doesn't care about socializing.
Yeah, I have a son who's 17 as well. He loves the remote learning, but I also have a 10-year-old where she doesn't really care for the remote learning. So do you think that older children have a better adjustment to it than the younger children?
Yes, I think that the students who are in maybe 8th grade and up, high schoolers, they're more independent.
Right.
They've already, built friendships. They already have their friends. Most of your social skills, you learn it within your younger ages. So you learn it from when you're maybe like 1 or 2, all the way up until 5th grade, until you're 11. I think most of the foundation is there, the primary grades. And then when you get into high school, you're more independent. You'll still see your friends. With the younger kids, they look forward to those relationships that they built. You build relationships faster with your teachers when you're in school. For a lot of our students in the Bronx, when they come to school, that's where they get their meals, that's where they're warm, that's where they have their relationships. So when they're at home, they're not getting those things, so they miss it. They want to come back. When the pandemic first hit, I was a teacher, and a lot of my students said to me, like, I cannot believe I'm saying this. I want to go back to school. I miss school. I want to come back in the building. So I think it's important for the younger kids especially to be back in the school building.
I think for me, mine is 15, and it seemed like there was a problem with adjusting for both her and the teachers, where there was a power struggle, if you will, because the teachers were like looking for them to do certain things, like, you can't sit in your bed, or she was at the time when she first, when the pandemic first started, she was in a charter school, and it was like, you gotta put on your shirt.
I agree with that though.
You gotta. There's certain things you gotta do, and for me, it's like if she's learning, if she's present, and she's doing what she's supposed to do, I don't see a problem with her still having on the t-shirt rather than wearing the school shirt.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, no, I want you to finish, but I mean, I want you to speak. But my thing is, she's home, right? And I get it. I'm not gonna fix her breakfast in the middle of class, because obviously she has to eat and things like that. So she's gonna get up, she's gonna eat, she has to use the restroom, things of those nature. But it's kind of the thing where it's like teachers had to learn to pick their battles, because there were certain things that teachers were asking for that they would ask for if the children were in the building, and it's like they're not in the building anymore. They're sitting here with me. So yeah, I'm gonna make sure that they're respectful to you. I'm gonna make sure that they're doing their work while they're with you. But there's certain things that you ask for, that you may be asking for, that might be a little far-fetched right now.
Can I interject? I'm playing devil's advocate right now.
Okay.
Because I have friends who are teachers, and I feel like when you are in a mindset to learn, you learn better when you're structured. So if every day you came to school with a book bag on, with your supplies, you came with your clothes, dress, you came with a mind state, I'm gonna learn today, you're learning. But I feel like when you're at home, it's easier for you to just sit there and just tune them out, not get anything they're saying. It goes over your head and you're just sitting there because you're so comfortable. Your mindset is not to learn. your mindset is just to be present. You're present, but you're not learning anything. It's not absorbing because you're not in a state where you're at a chair. Even my daughter told me that. She goes, Mom, when I'm in my bed, I don't learn as good as when I'm in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, I have to sit up. I have to be available to take that information in. But when she's in her bed, she'd be like, oh man, Mom. She doesn't learn as much for me.
No,
I definitely would love to hear.
I want to hear.
Yeah, like, so what's your thoughts on that as the actual teacher?
What I will say is,
Okay.
for somebody who works in education, everybody doesn't learn the same.
That's true.
So I get what you're saying about your daughter, but there are some people who don't even when they go to school
That's true.
and they're sitting in rows with everybody, and the teacher is saying, "Look at the board,
Right.
and this is what this is."
They still like
They're not
absorbing it.
getting anything because that's not how they learn.
Right.
There's some people that can be spoken, they can learn verbally.
Excuse me.
There's some people who have to be hands-on, you know, so everybody learns differently. So I get what you're saying, but when do teachers start to learn how to move things around or differentiate how different students learn so that they can reach everybody?
There has to be a need for that, like a great need, not just a
There
greater.
is.
Okay. Well,
Okay. Uptown.
So I feel like, you know, when you think about school, right, like there's primary school and then there's like secondary school. So when you think of school, right, school, the structure of how school is it gives you the baseline to figure out how you are supposed to function as an adult. The reason that they keep you there for the amount of hours that they keep children there is because when you transition into adulthood, it positions you to be in the mindset to be able to sit at a desk or at a job for a certain amount of hours to be able to sit there and have the structure, right? So the reason when you think taking the uniforms into consideration is because at the end of the day, children still have to learn structure, and just because they're not in a classroom, that doesn't mean that the structure needs to be removed from their process of learning, right? So if the uniform was a part of their everyday curriculum of going to class when they were physically there presently, then it still needs to be a part of their process when they're doing it remotely.
I agree. I agree.
So let me jump in.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Go ahead. Yeah, get it.
I hear a lot. I hear a lot of things. I'm gonna try to attack each thing.
Okay.
So the last thing I heard was about structure. Yes, I agree that there should be structure. Just from my own experiences, when I had my students remotely, I did allow them to be wherever they are as long as they were fully participating. So I had some students who might be in bed, some students who may be in their pajamas, but beforehand I had already that relationship. So my students already knew that when we're in class with my teacher, I need to be focused, I'm on task. I do get the side of, yes, I heard a lot of charter schools did that where the kids need to be in their uniform just to try to maintain that structure that you would have in the classroom. Because if I came on the camera with my pajamas on, parents would have a fit.
Right.
They would have a fit. The teacher has on her pajamas. She's supposed to be teaching.
Right.
So I can see both sides of it, and I also see your side where kids learn differently. So as long as my kids were participating and doing what they needed to do, they could be in their pajamas. They might be in their bed. They might be sitting on the couch. As long as they were participating. And then there was something else you said that you were with your child sitting. There are many parents who do not sit with their child sitting. So it becomes a problem when they're in bed and they're not doing anything and their parent is not there. So you as a teacher, you do have to adapt. But you have to remember that just like parents and students, teachers and educators are learning how to work through this pandemic as well. So in the school, we say that we're flying the plane and building it at the same time. We are just learning. I mean, I can remember in March where it was in the city, we didn't have all of our kids don't have devices in the city.
Right.
So we don't have Google Class. We didn't have any of that. So coming in and setting it up and figuring everything out within 24 hours and parents calling. So we are adapting as things arise, but we're not perfect either. So parents expect us to be perfect, but as we learn and as it goes on, we're just trying to learn so that we can meet the students' needs. But if we notice like, oh yeah, kids, they're learning better if they're more comfortable. some of us can adapt to that and say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, but I'm still gonna set that structure. Like if you're in bed, I'm expecting your camera's on, you're fully dressed, you're raising your hand, your mom is not yelling in the background. I've seen it all for remote learning. I've seen it all.
Yeah, listen, that's
anything you can think of.
It's a little difficult sometimes when I gotta work and you gotta go to school. So
I've seen it all.
So segueing from that, as a teacher and then as an AP, what would you say has been the most difficult thing? Because obviously you just said it, you had to learn on the go, right? And parents and the government, I'm sure everyone was on you like, yo, why this is not up and da-da-da-da, and it was a bunch of different, I'm sure, things that didn't coincide to help. So with 2 years in, forget about the past because it's gone, right? So at this point, this juncture right now, what would you say is the most difficult thing that you're seeing as a challenge?
Man, I have a lot of challenges.
That's fine, because parents need to know. Like you don't get to tell them, right? Tell parents, they don't know. They just thinking my kid is not learning. They're not getting left back. Like they're not trying to hear it.
So, man,
choose one.
There are a lot of different perspectives. I would say for parents, like what you just said about parents and that your child is not getting left back and those things. Parents have to understand that. With 2 years at being at home, basically, kids are not getting the same education that they would get if they were in school. Although there are parents who do their best, there's parents who go above and beyond, and then there's parents on the other side where they're not capable or they're not able to provide their child with the best education at home, and that's okay. But parents have to understand that their child is not where they're supposed to be. Most of them are not. No matter what you thought you did at home, be patient and allow us to assess students and students and children. Sorry, I'm used to saying students, not children. But assessing students and seeing where they are, and then trying to come up with a plan of how we can try to close the gaps as much as we can, especially in our neighborhoods, in African American neighborhoods, colored neighborhoods. We already know that there's an education gap. It was already there before the pandemic. So give us a chance to now close the gap that was already there, plus the gap from the pandemic.
Can I say something as a parent?
Yes.
I don't have a young child, but I've heard stories. Sometimes parents are just not built for this. They're just not built for the online remote learning. They don't have the capability to help their child because they don't know what they're doing. They just don't have it, and sometimes it's frustrating for the parent because you want them to help the child, but they're like, I don't even know what math this is. I don't know what science is. I can't help them, So it's like you're stuck between helping your child when you can't help them, and then it's like, just go back. I want my child back in school. I just want them back in school because that's where they learn best. But sometimes I feel like they don't think about.
But just to stop you real quick from what you said, parents said that like, oh, Miss Smith, I want you to take this is your child, take it back.
Right.
But now that they're back in school and kids are getting sick and
that's what I was gonna say.
They are like, oh, now I want them home. Why are you not closed?
They're thinking about that part.
And I'm like, well, you said you wanted them at school. Do you want them at school, or do you want us to close?
There's a thin line, right? Because when you think about like innovation, right? Like innovation provides you to do things in a different way, right? So the way kids learn now are different than the way we learn. So when you look at, like math and science, like the way they teach kids math and science now is different from, I am not equipped to help my child with her homework at 10 years old because the way I learn math and science is different than the way she's learning it now. So it's a struggle. So you feel like as a parent, you want your child in school so they can learn things the way they need to be learned, and your child can adapt to the innovation of how learning has changed. But it's a struggle. Like you don't know what to do.
It is. That's true. But Miss Kalisha, I remember you saying something earlier when you were speaking about children not coming to school because they want to come to school because they have food at home, or it's like they don't have a warm home and have to come to school to have social skills with their teacher and stuff like that. Like, can you go into that a little bit more and discuss that side of it?
Yeah. So I'm in the Bronx and I'm part of the DOE. So in the DOE we have about over 1 million students are in the DOE. So there's a lot of students. So when parents ask why we're not closed, we have to think about the different factors that we have in the DOE. And there are children that they don't have anywhere to live, or they don't have food, or they're not getting the love and attention that some children may get when they're at home. So when they come to school, it is their safe space. So although there is COVID, yes, it's real, it's there, but we do have to consider that there are bigger things out there, that kids need to be safe, they need to feel warm, they need to have a meal. So we don't just rush to close, we try to hold on so that they have that safe space.
True, because there is a significant amount of children that are in the shelter system.
Yes.
That are in the DOE.
Aren't they trying to adapt, giving the parents SNAP, like giving them food stamps to give them money for groceries and stuff?
They do SNAP. There are shelters that children and their families go into, but there's nothing like your home.
That's true.
It's nothing like having your own home.
That's true.
But there are lots of programs, and families are enrolled in these programs where they'll put them in a shelter. They'll provide transportation for you to get to school.
Oh, good.
It's definitely there, but kids look forward to coming to school. They look forward to those teachers that they built relationships with, their friends.
Buttercrunch cookies.
Those buttercrunch cookies.
They still got buttercrunch cookies?
Yes, they do.
Ooh.
But it's not the same like how it was when we were children. It's like gluten free.
Ew.
I think it's gluten free and wheat.
There's no sugar?
It's the same.
Gluten free. Yo, you remember when we was the Truman and we set up the lunchroom and we like played spades at the lunchroom for the buttercrunch cookies?
I was in class, get my education on.
I was definitely in class playing
And in
spades.
the cafeteria.
Buttercrunch
For,
cookies.
yeah.
But not these ones.
Those are nasty.
They don't taste good at all.
Well, those services that you were just conversing about, where the students are getting transportation and those other things, like how will people learn about those things? Because obviously it's not public knowledge all the time.
So in our school, there's actually 2 people who take care of that. Both of them are social workers, and they have a list of all the students who either they're living with someone else or they're living in a shelter, and they keep in contact with the parents, with the children. They check in with them each day. We have a food pantry at our school, so if those families or any family in our school that needs anything, they can come to that food pantry. We do a coat drive. So there's different things that we do for that population. And the social worker that's in our building is a person that we get a whole list of all the students who may be homeless, or they're doubled up is what we call it. They're living with another family member. And then we just make sure that we have interaction. And as soon as a child or their family is enrolled in a shelter, we get a list of that. We know automatically. Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned, because I had said about parents not wanting their kids to get left back. They're like, nah, we need to make it happen, right? So you said that, real talk, the remote learning, the kids are not where they need to be in terms of their learning development and the skill sets. So is there has the DOE come up with a solution to shorten that gap? Is there like tutoring? Is there like in the summertime, are the kids gonna come? Like, is there something that has been thought of to?
So yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some students who they thrived on remote learning. They thrived, and then there's some students or majority of the students where they need the extra support. So like today's Saturday, I work Saturday school. We have Saturday school from 9 to 12 every Saturday. We have after school programs for 2 hours for academic enrichment, or if they need academic support. There's summer school. So there's different things that we're trying to in place or implement so that kids can get that knowledge that they might have missed during that pandemic time. Even how we're teaching in the classroom. So I'm no longer a teacher, but I'm an administrator, and the way that we're planning, it's more of small groups. So kids are in different learning levels, so we know that. So there may be a group of students who are working on one task, there's another group of students who are on another task, and teachers are circulating through those groups so that all those students are having their needs being met. Okay. So there may be students who they're fine, they thrive through remote learning, but they're not just staying stagnant. They're working on something different, and teachers are circulating. So where even how education is planned, it doesn't look the same as how it was before the pandemic, because we know that students are not where they are. So normally we have this thing where when students go on summer break, they always fall behind because they're on summer break. They're not getting the education that they would. So for us, it's like a 2-year summer break. So the things that we would normally do in September, we're doing that the whole year. So it's enhanced to like 110%. It's enhanced. So we're really trying hard to close those gaps, but we need parents' help too. We can't do it by ourselves. I know that parents have jobs. We know that, but we do need parents.
So what would you
for their
suggest
support.
for parents to do?
Like how you said earlier, that you're sitting with your child, making sure that they're on task. That's very helpful because kids will sit and listen if their parent is there. They'll get their homework done, things like that.
But for that parent that has to work.
Right.
But for parents that have to work, I mean, my mom worked, but I knew what my homework had to be done. And when she got home, it was on the table, and everything was right, and everything was correct. Nothing was missing. When she tested me on those spelling words, I knew how to spell them. So just even setting those structures of, I'm not here, but when I get home, I'm going to check over this. And your child knows, like, you know, Mom, I didn't understand this question. Mom or Dad may be able to help you with that. But it's not like no homework is done. We have kids where no homework comes or nothing is happening at home.
I have a question for you. How far is the gap between this disparity of the children who may either live at home or live in shelters and them not having food or clothing connected to their ability to be able to learn, whether it be remotely or in person? How far is that connection?
That's a hard one. That's a tough question. I've seen different impacts of living in a shelter and not living in a home. I've seen it where on one side the parent goes above and beyond because they know their living situation and the child does everything. They're always at school. They're brilliant. And then I've seen on the other side where the child may not be able to, they don't do homework, or they miss school often. If they don't get on that bus to get to school, they don't come to school at all. So I've seen on both sides. That's hard. But going back to what we said earlier about adapting, so that child that I might have seen on that side where they're not able to get their homework done, 10 minutes before class starts, I say, hey, I want you to start this homework. I want you to do it here in class because I know. And the kid will do it there. So it just depends.
So my next question, is there any public analytics that can show the difference between the disparity between what it might be in the Bronx versus what it might be in Manhattan or Brooklyn or Queens or Staten Island?
Oh, definitely. I can't quote those numbers to you right now, but
That's
there's
fine.
definitely,
Okay.
We look at those kind of charts all the time. Like when we do professional development, we'll give teachers just those numbers and we'll say, what does this show? What are you seeing here? How does this impact us? Where do we fall on these charts? So those numbers are definitely out there. I just don't know them off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember my question. My question was, when school is closed during COVID, are they offering meals to students outside of that? So you can come to school and pick it up and go back home?
Yeah.
Okay.
So throughout the city, there's community places and then there's the schools too from a certain time period. I believe it's from like 9 to 5.
Okay. That's
They
daily?
offer-
Daily?
Yeah, when the building is closed, they have it there.
Oh, that's good.
Mhm.
That's good to know. Okay.
All right. Oh man, this has been really good. I didn't know some of this stuff.
Well, there's a reason why I ask these questions, because I feel like we all collectively have resources, right? So at the end of the day, whether it's one school or a couple of schools, if we could get together and pool our resources to make sure that we could start a GoFundMe, so that way kids in a particular school could be able to have extra meals to have at home or have clothing that they can have donated to them. You know what I'm saying? We should be able to pool our resources together to make sure children have that, so that way that's not a distraction for them to be able to get the education that they need.
And you know, I 100% agree with you. Those are some of the things that we do within our school. I can only talk on the school that I work on,
Right.
that I work in. Sorry, Henny is I can only speak on the school that I work in.
Right. For sure.
We have all those things in place, whereas if, like, the other day, me and the other assistant principal Instacarted a meal, like a set of groceries to a family that came in. Mom said she needed things. Our pantry wasn't up and running at the time. Okay, we went on Instacart, ordered everything she needed, sent it to her house, not a problem. But we are trying to make sure, like what you said, that kids have the needs that they need so that they could just come to school and be kids and learn and just thrive within the school community. We have uniforms, we have coats, we have all of that. And if a parent says, I need a coat, we can go in and say, here's your coat.
Well, it's wild that you're saying that, because that's the same issue that people that are in college are having. You know, those are the same problems that they're having. I work at a college, and those students are facing the same thing, where a lot of people aren't able to learn how they would like to because they don't have food. A lot of people that are going to college are living in shelters, or they're home. Like there's a large amount of people who are in college that are homeless.
Really?
Wow.
I believe that.
I know that.
And yeah, I actually kind of found that out, like, you know, kind of recently. And we don't realize that stuff is having an effect on them. So, you know, the same way a lot of our children are having the issues because they don't have the technology to learn online and stuff. There are a lot of students who are in college who have to come to the school and pick up laptops and stuff like that because they don't have the technology to learn. There are exams and stuff that they need to take that they can't take because they don't have not just the device, they don't have internet service. You know, they don't, you know, they are coming to the college to get, you know, clothing. They are coming to the college to get food. We do have a pantry at LaGuardia Community College where they can pick up food and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not just the children who are dealing with that, but there are adults who are dealing with those issues also. So remote learning wasn't just something that negatively impacted the children, but it impacted a lot of adults who are in college.
Interesting.
I did not know that.
I mean, it makes sense because, I mean, New York is a very expensive city to live in, right? So when you think about the expenses that it costs to live in New York City, it makes sense that there are people, whether it's a child that is in an elementary school level or a child that is, or a person that's in the collegiate level, that they may not have just the day-to-day resources like food or clothing, and they're struggling. And when you're trying to learn, listen, if you sitting down trying to study for an exam and your belly's empty versus you sitting down trying to study for an exam and you got, even if it's just a bagel to sit there and pull on and eat your bagel while you study it through your notes, you're gonna be able to absorb the information that you need to absorb better if you have something to put in your stomach. And you're not using hunger as a distraction. Like, it's just easier to just learn. Like, those are just primary basic needs.
When you're going through something in your personal life, it affects your education. I've been there. I was in a place where my home was compromised. I had to leave, and I couldn't focus on school. I could not focus on school. So imagine being hungry, being without clothes, being without shelter, being without love. Like, you cannot focus. It's impossible. It is. And so I never thought of it that way, Dre, but that makes sense. I never thought about college students being hungry or homeless or in a shelter. Like,
so, I mean, we're looking at it like that now. You know, if the children are having an issue because they don't have the devices or books.
But do they give the college students the option of getting a laptop or getting free Wi-Fi? Because like they had that Verizon was giving.
So what I will tell you
Wi-Fi.
is, I know, again, like her, I can speak for the college that I work for, LaGuardia. They will give them a device that gives them Wi-Fi. There may be like 2 gigs worth of it's something 2 gigs worth of data on it for the month, and then they'll give them a laptop that goes along with it. They're also allowed to come to campus and go into the library.
Yeah.
They'll have to
crazy.
sign up. They have to sign up for time. You know, especially because of COVID, so you can't just walk in.
Right. That's
You have to
right.
sign up for the time, and you know.
So it's about time management and just be able to figure out when you can
Right.
get your
But
slot.
it's so discouraging, though. It makes you
Right.
just want to just give up. Like, I don't want to do this. It's too
Well,
hard.
I mean, again, it you know, there are some people who will take it that way, but then there are some people who that type of stuff, you know, will push them further to say, if I get this education, then I can
Things
do
will be
better
better.
for myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Same thing with, you know, some of the parents who may be dealing with the children who can't get everything they need, is pushing them to push their children to do better.
Right.
Because it's like, once we get over this hump,
We're going to be better. Right.
things will be better.
Makes sense.
It's gonna be a big ass hump. Tell you that right now.
So we're gonna head into our final thoughts in a little bit. I did have a question for you, because I know we've talked about the challenges that the kids have, and even college students, in terms of you know, learning and bridging the gap
Yeah.
in these last 2 years. But COVID ain't going away, right? Like,
That's why I said this is gonna be a long ass gap.
teachers, students getting sick. I mean, I know that there's a wide range of challenges that you see daily that you have to adapt to. Do you foresee, and it might be unjust to ask you, but do you foresee that hybrid learning is something that will continue and can be prosperous for our kids' future in their development, so that gap isn't? I know. It might be.
It's a very loaded question.
If you can't answer, it's totally fine. I was just thinking, like, as a, you know, for parents, like, you know, teachers are getting sick. I know teachers have left their job because you know, they don't want to bring that home, right? And but I know some teachers who love their job and they love these kids, like they're like their own kids, like you said. So it's like, I can't leave them out there, because you know how hard it is already for these kids. So I know, a loaded question. I'm gonna shut up.
So, first off, I like how you mentioned teachers, because people forget that educators are getting sick too. Educators have families too. It's very often forgotten. When we interact with parents on a daily basis, I think parents, sometimes, not all parents, forget about the educator, and that educators are humans too. As far as hybrid learning, I think it's a good way to go, especially in our neighborhoods in the city. When I look at neighborhoods in Westchester, those kids transitioned quickly. They went in, they're fine. They don't have these gaps that we have. And I think it partly has to do with us not integrating that technology sooner.
I was gonna say that resources might have been much better.
Right.
Yes, they had those resources. So the pandemic has helped us. We try to give out, almost all of our kids have computers or some type of device in our building, hotspots, all of that. So I think transitioning for hybrid is going to help the students that we have now, especially because we live in a technology realm. You have to know how to use technology. So even if it's not what I like about hybrid is that it's not fully remote. Now, I'm not for fully remote at all. But hybrid, a balance. So even any teacher that I supervise, when I go in their classroom, I expect to see a balance of technology and traditional teaching. It's not just you in front of the classroom teaching all day, but you're teaching and the kids are getting on their devices, they're finishing a project, they're coding, they're getting on Google Classroom, they're typing. Those are skills that they need for this century. So it's great to have that balance, and I'm all for hybrid. I think it's a great thing, and that's one of the best things I think came from this pandemic so far, is that we do have the ability now to give students devices where they have, in those neighborhoods, they give them out. They've already been out before the pandemic. Now we have the opportunity to do that, and I think it's a great thing. And if we continue it and we're consistent with it, if we had another pandemic, hopefully not, our kids will be able
we
to
still in
transition. We
pandemic.
still in it. I'm
We ain't
moving
get out of
past
it.
it. I'm already past it.
I'm
already
not mad
over.
at you. You trying to? Okay, I
trying
got
to go
you.
over.
I got you. You speaking it into
But
existence. All right, I got
while we're living in this pandemic,
It's done with this.
I'm done with it. I'm finished.
Done off.
But I think the hybrid would be helpful because if we had it before the pandemic, our kids would have transitioned just like
That's
those other
true.
kids in other
That's true.
neighborhoods.
True.
And this gap that we have, because we already have a gap where we are right now. That gap wouldn't have expanded if we had some of these things in place before we had the pandemic.
Absolutely.
So I'm for it.
That's awesome. All right. So we at that point in the show where we go into final thoughts.
All right.
Right. So who wants to start? Oh, he just got thrown out today. So my final thoughts. I think teachers should get paid more.
Absolutely.
Because
Yes.
Let's clap it up for
Not
that.
just teachers, principals too.
Good answer.
Principals
Educator.
too.
Anybody in
Educator.
education.
I'm sorry.
Anybody.
Educators need to get paid more money. I mean,
Yes.
the amount of sacrifice in just your own health that you have put out there to continuously teach our kids so that they don't fall behind.
Right.
You know, it's just amazing, and you have never gotten enough credit for what you do and how much you do. And I just hope this pandemic that we're still in has allowed the government to see that and give you your due.
Right.
Because you deserve it.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
it's serious. Like Uptown said, some parents take my kid. You know, I can't do this every day.
Right,
you know, because it's stressful and it's like I love you, but I might not like you if I keep you. So I think it's a balance that needs to be paid forward to the individuals that make that happen. So I think that's my final.
That's great. So I would say this. You guys are more than educators. You guys are educators, mothers, fathers, nurses, judges. You're everything to these kids, you know, and I feel like people downplay the importance of schooling, not just the educational part, but just like the meals, the socializing, the love, the warmth, the community, everything is helping you raise your child to become who they are. And it's like you spend more time with my kids than I do. Because by the time they come home from school, it's like bath time, dinner, and you in the bed. So it's like people don't understand like how much important it plays in the raising of your children with these educators. They're raising your kids. You know, like not knowing these teachers are raising your kids. Like they're raising your children. So it's really important for you to go to parent teacher conferences, call the teachers when you have a problem, help the teachers. It's very important because it takes a village to raise these kids, and I feel like they're doing that, and then people understand how important you guys are. You know, I wanted to let you know that you guys are important. I appreciate everything you do. We appreciate you. Like, you know, it's not just something that you just, you know, take for granted. It's really important. We need you. So I want to just say, continue doing what you're doing. I know it's not easy, but we appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hollywood Trey, he's looking at you. So
No, I'm gonna let y'all go. Go ahead.
No, I want to go last.
You wanna go last? We're gonna let the
I'm
guest.
gonna finish it up.
I wanted to go last.
yes, we're gonna let the
I'm
teacher,
going now.
the educator go last.
No, I'm gonna go
let
now.
the VP rock.
I'm gonna go now. Let me see, my final thought. My final thought is be patient with us. Be patient with the educators that you work with each day. Remember that we too have families, we're humans. We have health, we have all different things going on. And when we step into that building, it's all about your children. So just be patient, and we're gonna get over that hump. We're going to continue to make sure that your child is successful, and everything you see on the news is not always true. So just keep that in mind. Just be patient with us, okay? Ask questions. If you have concerns about something, ask us before you decide that you want to accuse or be upset. Just ask questions, and I can't stress enough, just be patient and trust us with your kids. Thank you.
And you said earlier, you know, if there's some men that want to get into
Oh, yes. If there is any African American men, Latino, that's fine too. We need you in our schools. Our boys look up to you. Our girls look up to you. We need you. So if you need a job, contact me.
They hiring?
I'm hiring. I handle hiring at my school. So if you know somebody,
they got part-time, they got part-time?
substitute, paraprofessional, school aid, if you have your teaching certificate or your certification, contact me. You still have to come in for a demo. I have to make sure you know how to teach. But I'll hook you up.
All right.
Good, thank you. Okay.
Promo for the job.
Right.
Well, fact.
Right.
So I'm about to say something that all of y'all was thinking, but y'all ain't really want to say it.
What you gonna
Don't look at me like that. F these kids. Alright? So listen, during this pandemic, a lot of them was doing stuff to get on our nerves.
Wait, you said plan?
Pandemic, yeah.
Oh, that's another episode. Go ahead.
It's another episode.
Go ahead.
These kids been wilding out. And they
Great.
Yeah. They got rights that we didn't have when we were children.
Absolutely.
So again, that's another episode.
Right.
However, what I will say is I appreciate people who are educators and what they've done during this. Nobody got a chance to get a manual on what this was going to be and how this is going to turn out. We're kind of up in the air on everything. Everybody who's educated, from elementary school to middle school, high school, college. Even in college, everybody's trying to figure it out. And again, everybody doesn't learn the same, so we're trying to figure out how to get everybody to get what they need in a good time to pass these classes. So what you're doing is very commendable. How you are leading our children to get what they need is very commendable. And we need more people like you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What you got to say, Richard?
What happened? What's up, Uptown? Uptown Brown.
First, I want all of us to join hands, please.
Oh, Jesus.
Join hands.
Oh, God.
But now, you know, my final thoughts are, you know, in the great words of the man, you know, the legend, Randy Jackson, I believe the children are the future.
Thank you.
Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Sing it with me now. Show them the sense of what? A pride. To make it easier.
Let the children laugh.
Remind them how
They used to be.
I decided long ago
Never to walk.
in anyone's shadow.
If I fail,
If I succeed, you can't take away my dignity. Because the greatest love of all is inside of me. Yeah.
Sexual chocolate.
Should I know this? What?
You don't know this song?
No.
You ain't never seen Come to America?
Come to America.
Get
I
the
have.
hell off my goddamn show. Get the hell off my show.
Oh,
Please keep that in the. Get her off.
So, wait.
I wasted all this time. I built up for this shit, and she don't even know the goddamn song. I built up the whole goddamn final thought for this shit, and she don't even know the goddamn song.
I'm sorry.
So,
We know it.
chill,
Y'all knew it.
So,
Y'all knew it.
chill,
I'm gonna go look it up when I leave here.
Hey.
Don't worry.
Breathe.
Frost, can you tell her to eat the cake?
I know that.
She know that though. She know that.
So we have come to the end of our show. We hope you enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. We hope you took something from it.
But you know me how Colin.
Again, Miss Kalisha, let our audience know what you got going on. Please and thank you. Let them know your IG so they can reach you.
I hope all this stays in the edit. I hope all this really
I hope so too. I needed this good laugh.
I hope all this please.
Go ahead, Kalisha, say your thing.
All right. Let me talk. Okay, so I am Kalisha again, and I have been an educator for about 8 years. I'm an AP in the Bronx, assistant principal. I also am an event planner, so I plan everything that you could think of. I can make it happen. I have
You
a
take
pop-up
EBT?
shop. I take EBT. I have a pop-up
She ain't gonna never
shop.
have a Coming to America event.
You know what? I just might. I need to have one because clearly I'm missing.
I'm gonna help you plan it because clearly you don't know.
We're gonna exchange.
Can you let her
contact.
finish?
I'm
I
sorry.
know. I don't even know where I left off.
Yo, you're disrespecting our guest.
So my IG is c.smithevents. Check it out. I got a pop-up shop happening on February 12th, and I also do a Thursday night every night at Mangleville. Just check out my page.
Yeah, check
You
out
got
her
a baby
page.
shower. You got a graduation.
Yeah, if you see anything about
anything,
Coming to
check
America
out.
on there, don't believe it.
I'm gonna do a Coming to America event now.
please do.
Watch.
And he is going to be the co-host of that, right?
Yeah, because I don't know how she don't know the difference between a Big Mac and a Big Mick.
With that being said, y'all, we hope you enjoy the show.
Yo, by the way, rest in peace.
Lonnie,
Which one? The old guy?
the white dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Who
Oh,
Anderson, Louis Anderson.
Louis
Anderson,
Anderson.
yeah.
Louis Anderson. Rest in peace, Louis
He's from that
Anderson.
movie,
Yes,
Coming to
yes.
America.
Because he did say, I'm on fries now.
I'm gonna work my way up.
Oh,
I'm gonna make my way up.
I see it. I know that one.
You know that part?
Yeah.
But you don't know none of the songs.
I was
RTI family, we thank you for joining us.
Alright, take care.
Alicia, thank you so much for coming on.
Where's my spoon? Where's my spoon?
Have a great night and a better tomorrow.
My t-shirt.